an admission from Officer Norris that, despite the gravity of the charges, the Commonwealth failed to solicit any chemical or confirmatory evidence, such as a breathalyzer or blood draw, to scientifically validate the officer's subjective impressions. In the absence of body cam footage or corroborating physical data, Mr. Foreman characterized the state's case as a ghost investigation. This lack of a contemporaneous record creates a significant evidentiary gap that fails to meet the high threshold of due process. Furthermore, Mr. Foreman contrasted the impaired narrative with the defendant's remarkable compliance and composed demeanor by highlighting that the defendant—
Have you ever watched a courtroom where the person everyone expected to lose suddenly turned the entire case upside down? That's exactly what happened here. What began as a routine prosecution against a First Amendment auditor quickly turned into a courtroom battle where every answer from the police officer was challenged, every contradiction was exposed, and every claim was put under a microscope. As the defense carefully dismantled the officer's testimony, one question became impossible to ignore: was this a lawful arrest, or was it a violation of constitutional rights from the very beginning? Stay until the end, because this case doesn't just reveal what happened during the arrest, it exposes how a single cross-examination changed everything and ultimately led to a stunning legal reversal.
You order the defendant to back up specifically?
I never had an opportunity to give him an exact distance.
How far back did you intend to have him back up, even if you didn't express that?
In the background of the video, you could see that there was a parked semi-truck and a light pole. I would have directed him somewhere in that area, which would have been outside the 21 feet.
Your testimony is you never told him an exact distance to back up, correct?
Yes, he never allowed me to.
What do you mean he never allowed you to?
I asked him to back up, and he continued arguing with me, so I could never specify exact distance for him.
But you had time to give him 5 commands to back up, is that correct?
Yes.
Your testimony is he never backed up when you were giving him commands, is that correct?
If he backed up, it may have been inches, but he didn't substantially back up.
And you just reviewed the body-worn camera from your chest, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't notice him backing up every time you directed him to back up?
He did not back up.
So you backed up 0 feet, in your opinion? Based on that video?
Not 0 feet.
What was that?
He didn't back up 0 feet, he was moving his feet. As to exactly how far he went back, I don't know, but it wasn't substantial.
What would have been substantial in your opinion, or what do you mean by that?
I would have guided him, if he wasn't arguing with me, back toward the light pole and the parked semi-truck.
And
would have been outside of the 21 feet. That was my goal.
So in your opinion, you have the ability, or you would in any traffic stop, ask somebody to move back 21 feet, is that correct?
Yes, for our training.
And what was that training?
That while we're conducting lawful activity, we're allowed a reasonable distance to conduct our activity.
But where do you get that 21 feet number from specifically?
That's taught to us in the academy.
This is the first major crack in the prosecution's case. The defense immediately exposes uncertainty in the officer's testimony, planting doubt about whether the arrest was based on a clear and lawful command.
And what was that training?
That while we're conducting lawful activity, we're allowed a reasonable distance to conduct our activity.
But where do you get that 21 feet number from specifically?
That's taught to us in the academy. It's based on reaction time, normal human reaction time to a threat.
So your position is anytime you're engaged in any law enforcement activity, you would create a 21 feet perimeter?
Not necessarily. It depends on other environmental factors such as obstacles and barriers.
So your testimony is that every time you conduct a traffic stop, as long as there's no barriers, you would order a pedestrian to back up 21 feet, is that correct?
I would, yes.
Mr. Mee impeaches Officer Bork by pointing out the conflict between his testimony that Mr. DeCastro was interfering with the stop and the lack of specific articulable facts showing a physical obstruction. Impeachment is the process of challenging a witness's credibility, which can be accomplished by showing that their story has changed or is inconsistent with the evidence. Under Nevada Revised Statute 50.135, a witness's prior statement or current testimony can be challenged when it lacks consistency. According to Officer Bork, Mr. DeCastro was obstructing his duty as an officer, as shown in the body cam video. Under Nevada Revised Statute 197.190 defines obstructing a public officer as willfully hindering, delaying, or obstructing an officer in the discharge of their official powers. But
The officer claims he relies on a 21-foot safety rule taught in the police academy. However, the defense points out that this distance is not written into Nevada law and questions whether it legally justified the arrest.
Officer Bork, which training he had on the First Amendment right. Under the First Amendment, citizens have a clearly established right to record police officers performing their duties in public spaces, a right that serves as a critical check on government power. In the case of Mr. DeCastro, the defense argues that this constitutional protection is the starting point for any analysis of his conduct. Under the Supreme Court's holding in City of Houston v. Hill, the court emphasized that the First Amendment protects a significant amount of verbal criticism directed at law enforcement. The court noted that the freedom of individuals verbally to oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest is one of the principal characteristics by which we distinguish a free nation from a police state. Therefore, unless Mr. DeCastro's speech constituted fighting words, those which by their very utterance inflict injury or tend to incite an immediate breach of the peace, his verbal conduct is constitutionally immunized. The prosecution's claim that filming is not a license to interfere fails if they cannot prove a physical nexus of obstruction. Without a physical act that actually
This is the emotional and legal heart of the case. The discussion shifts from a simple arrest to a constitutional rights battle, dramatically raising the stakes.
Prevented the officer from performing a specific duty, the arrest constitutes unconstitutional First Amendment retaliation.
During this traffic stop in particular, what specific factors led you to believe there might be a danger to officer safety?
Based on his proximity to my driver, based on his demeanor being argumentative, based on his physical demeanor, his veins were popping out of his neck as he was yelling at me.
You could see his veins popping out of his neck from your back where your vehicle is?
When I was at the driver's side window, I could see that, but not in my car.
So when you see him walking out from your car, what is your specific concern regarding officer safety at that point in time?
Well, it's my safety and the safety of the driver. I don't know who this person is. I've never met him before. He could be peaceful, he could be violent, I just don't know. There's so many unknown factors. And I also have a responsibility to protect that driver. If I were in that driver's position, I wouldn't want to be approached by some random person recording me, interviewing me.
Did you ever ask the driver their opinion about whether they wanted him there or not?
No, my first step was...
relevance. Sustained.
Was your primary concern him speaking to the driver or him not backing up allegedly?
My primary concern was safety. I don't know if he was armed or what his intention was.
Do you presume someone is armed and dangerous just because they're in public?
I can't rule out that he's unarmed.
But you had no reason to believe he was armed on this occasion?
No, nobody had told me he was armed, and I didn't see any weapons visible, but he was wearing clothing that could have easily concealed weapons.
So when you first came upon the scene, you were in your vehicle typing on your computer, is that correct?
Yes.
And what were you doing in relation to that traffic stop at that point in time?
Conducting a background check to see if her license was valid, to see if she had any criminal history to help me make my decision whether to warn her or issue citation.
You stated your belief that the driver was entitled to privacy.
I did say that.
And what do you mean by that?
Instead of continuing to give him commands to back up, I said something different to try and help him understand. She's really not entitled to privacy, but she's entitled to safety.
So your explanation is that you said that because you were just trying to convince him to back up, not because you believed?
Yes, if I continue to give the command to back up and he's not listening, I can't expect something different to happen if I just keep saying back up.
In your police report,
The defense successfully challenges the officer's justification by showing that his concerns were based largely on assumptions rather than observable facts.
Of obstructing a public officer and resisting a public officer. While the prosecutor originally suggested a suspended sentence and impulse control classes, Judge Zimmerman handed down a penalty of 180 days detention in the Clark County Detention Center and immediate remand. The judge cited Mr. DeCastro's behavior during the trial as evidence that he intended to get arrested to boost his YouTube channel's views. Mr. DeCastro's attorneys filed a criminal appeal before the Clark County District Court in Nevada. On July 10, 2024, Judge Michelle Levitt in the 8th Judicial District Court in Clark County, Nevada, held the final appeal hearing, where she ruled that DeCastro's conduct was protected by the First Amendment and ordered his immediate release after approximately 100 days in jail. On May 15, 2025, leveraging
This is the biggest emotional payoff of the first case. After appearing defeated, DeCastro wins on appeal, completely changing the outcome and validating the defense's constitutional arguments.
elicited an admission from Officer Norris that, despite the gravity of the charges, the Commonwealth failed to solicit any chemical or confirmatory evidence, such as a breathalyzer or blood draw, to scientifically validate the officer's subjective impressions. In the absence of body cam footage or corroborating physical data, Mr. Foreman characterized the state's case as a ghost investigation. This lack of a contemporaneous record creates a significant evidentiary gap that fails to meet the high threshold of due process. Furthermore, Mr. Foreman contrasted the impaired narrative with the defendant's remarkable compliance and composed demeanor by highlighting that the defendant was prosecuted.
This is the climax of the second case. The prosecution's case is portrayed as relying almost entirely on subjective observations instead of verifiable evidence, leaving the jury with significant reasonable doubt.